Let me tell you how I ended up with Cabernet dripping down my face at what was supposed to be a family celebration. My name is Rachel and I'm 32. I'm a financial analyst who worked her way through state college on scholarships and 2 jobs. My sister, Madison, is 27. She got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a card that said, "Proud of you." She got her college fully paid. I graduated with $60,000 in debt that I paid off myself. She got a destination wedding funded by our parents. I eloped at City Hall because I couldn't afford anything else. The pattern was always the same. Madison was the baby, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I was the responsible one, the one who had it together, which apparently meant I didn't need support, encouragement, or even basic acknowledgement. 3 years ago I bought my townhouse. It's a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, nothing extravagant. I saved for 5 years, worked overtime, skipped vacations. When I got the keys, I called my parents, excited to share the news. "That's nice, honey," Mom had said, distracted. "Madison just got engaged. We need to talk about the wedding budget." I didn't invite them to the housewarming. They didn't notice. Madison, meanwhile, has lived in 4 different apartments in 5 years, each time moving because she didn't vibe with the space, or needed something better. Each time Mom and Dad paid her deposits, her moving cost, her furniture. She works part-time at a boutique, calls it finding herself, and has never paid a full month's rent from her own pocket. 2 months ago, Madison announced she was pregnant. The family erupted in celebration. I sent a congratulations text. She didn't respond. Last week Mom called. "We're having Thanksgiving at your father's club this year. 45 people. The whole family. You'll be there, right?" "Of course," I said. "Good. We have something important to announce." I should have known then. I should have felt it coming. But I didn't. The ballroom at Dad's country club was decorated in autumn colors: burnt orange, deep red, gold. Long tables stretched beneath crystal chandeliers. 45 relatives milled around with cocktails, laughing, reconnecting. I wore a navy dress, simple and professional. Madison wore cream, flowing, ethereal, one hand resting on her barely visible bump. Dinner was served. Turkey, stuffing, the works. Conversation flowed around me. Cousins asking about my job, aunts commenting on how put together I always looked. I smiled, nodded, felt the familiar invisibility settle over me like a second skin. Then Dad stood up. He tapped his glass with a fork and the room fell quiet. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight," he began, his voice warm, paternal. "Family is everything to us. And tonight we want to announce something very special." Mom stood beside him, beaming. Madison looked up, her expression carefully neutral, but I saw the gleam in her eyes. As you all know, Madison and Ryan are expecting their first child. A grandchild. Applause rippled through the room. They need space, stability. A real home to raise this baby. My stomach tightened. "Rachel has a beautiful townhouse," Dad continued, turning to look directly at me. 3 bedrooms. Perfect for a growing family. And since Rachel is single, living alone, and has a successful career, we've decided she'll be signing the house over to Madison. The room exploded in applause. Relatives were clapping, cheering. Someone yelled, "That's so generous." Aunt Linda actually wiped tears from her eyes. I sat frozen, my fork halfway to my mouth. Madison stood, came over to me and hugged me, still seated, still stunned. "Thank you so much, Rachel," she whispered loud enough for people nearby to hear. "This means everything." I looked at Mom. She was smiling, nodding encouragingly like I was a child being prompted to share my toys. I looked at Dad. He raised his glass toward me, expectant. 45 pairs of eyes watched me. Waiting. I set down my fork. Carefully. Slowly. "No," I said. The word dropped into the room like a stone into still water. Dad's smile flickered. "What?" "No," I repeated, louder this time. "I'm not signing over my house." Madison's face crumpled. "Rachel, don't be selfish. I'm pregnant. I need this." "You need a house?" I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "You need my house. The one I saved 5 years to buy? The one I worked 70-hour weeks for?" "Rachel." Mom's voice was sharp, a warning. "Don't make a scene." "I'm making a scene?" I laughed, bitter and short. You just announced to 45 people that you're giving away My property without even asking me, and I'm the one making a scene? Dad's face darkened. We raised you to be generous. To support your family. Support my family? The words tasted like copper. I've been supporting this family. For years. That's not, Mom started. I paid for Madison's car insurance for 2 years when she forgot, and you wouldn't cover it. I loaned you $15,000 when Dad's business had that cash flow problem. I've never been repaid. I paid for Madison's last 3 apartment deposits because she kept getting evicted for late rent. The room had gone silent. Not the expectant silence from before. This was different. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Madison's face flushed red. You said those were gifts. You called them gifts after the fact. I called them loans. There's a difference. Mom's hand trembled on her wine glass. Rachel, please. Not here. Not here. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. You made this public, Mom. You decided to announce this in front of 45 people. So let's be public. I reached into my bag, the structured leather one I'd bought myself as a celebration gift when I closed on the townhouse. I pulled out a folder. Plain manila. Stuffed thick with papers. Mom's face went white. She recognized it. Or at least she recognized what it meant. What is that? Dad demanded. Documentation, I said calmly. I opened the folder. Bank statements showing the $87,000 I've given this family over the past 6 years. Venmo transactions. Checks. Wire transfers. All of it. I pulled out the first page, held it up. This is from 3 years ago. $5,000 for Madison's security deposit on that apartment in the Arts District. The one she destroyed and lost her deposit on. I pulled out another. This is from last year. $12,000 to Dad for his business expansion, that never happened. Another. This is from 4 months ago. $3,000 for Madison's credit card debt. She told me it was an emergency medical bill. Madison's fiancé Ryan stared at her. You said your parents paid that off. I am her parents, I said. Apparently. Mom stood abruptly. She grabbed her wine glass and before I could react, she threw it at me. Red wine splashed across my face, my dress, my folder. The glass shattered on the floor. How dare you, Mom hissed. How dare you embarrass this family? I didn't wipe the wine from my face. I stood there dripping and stared at her. Then I pulled out my phone. One button. I pressed it. Hi Jennifer. It's Rachel. We're ready. Yes. Now please. I hung up. Who was that? Dad's voice cracked slightly. My lawyer, I said. I wiped wine from my eyes with a napkin. The one I hired 2 weeks ago when Madison told her friend Ashley, who told me that you were planning this announcement. Madison gasped. You knew. I knew you were scheming. I didn't know you'd be this bold. The room was utterly silent now. Cousins had their phones out, probably texting other family members. Aunt Linda looked like she might faint. Uncle Tom had his hand over his mouth. I pulled out one more document from my folder. This one was protected in a clear plastic sleeve, still dry despite the wine. This, I said holding it up, is the deed to my house. My name only. Purchased with my money. My mortgage, my property taxes, my responsibility. And this, I pulled out another paper, is a cease and desist letter I'm serving to both of you tonight. A cease and desist? Dad's voice was barely a whisper. Demanding you stop making claims on my property, stop telling people you have any legal right to my assets, and stop involving me in your financial planning for Madison's life. Madison burst into tears. Loud, gulping sobs. Ryan put his arm around her, but he was staring at me with something that looked like respect. Or maybe shock. Hard to tell. 2 hours later, after I'd gone to the bathroom, cleaned the wine from my face and sat through the most awkward dessert service of my life, there was a knock at the ballroom door. A woman in a gray suit entered. She had a leather portfolio and an expression of professional neutrality. I'm looking for Richard and Susan Chin. My parents. Dad stood. His face had lost all color. I'm Richard Chin. I'm Jennifer Zhao, representing Rachel Chin. I'm here to serve you with formal documentation regarding your attempted fraud and coercion related to property at 847 Maple Street. She handed them both envelopes. Undeniable. The room watched as my parents opened the envelopes with shaking hands. Mom read the first page and something in her seemed to collapse inward. Dad read slower, his jaw tightening with each line. This states that any further attempts to claim, transfer, or leverage Rachel Chen's property will result in legal action, including possible restraining orders and financial restitution claims for documented loans. Jennifer looked at me. I nodded. She nodded back and left. For a long moment nobody moved. Then I picked up my bag, still damp with wine, and walked toward the door. Rachel. Dad's voice stopped me. Rachel, wait. I turned. He looked older suddenly. Smaller. You'd really sue us? Your own parents. I thought about the 5 years of saving. The overtime. The sacrifices. The townhouse that represented everything I'd built alone. You just tried to take my home, I said quietly. In front of 45 people. Without asking. Without shame. So yes, Dad. I really would. I left. Nobody followed me. 3 weeks later I'm sitting in my townhouse. My name is on the deed. My furniture fills the rooms. My coffee maker sits on my counter. Madison sent one text. I can't believe you'd be so selfish. I didn't respond. Mom and Dad haven't called. But my Uncle Tom did. He apologized for not speaking up. He said he always knew I was the strong one, but he didn't realize I was the one holding everything together while being pushed aside. Sometimes, he said, the loudest love isn't the truest love. I'm learning that now. Learning that peace isn't found in giving everything away to keep others happy. It's found in knowing your worth and defending it. My townhouse is still mine. The deed proved it. And for the first time in my life, I'm not apologizing for taking up space. If you've ever been the giver in a family of takers, tell me, where do you draw the line? At what point does generosity become erasure? I'm still figuring it out, but I know this much. Walking away isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's the only kindness you have left to give yourself.